Chapter 5, The Wandering Mission, LUC 5:1. I fell and struggled upward. My feet hardened on the stony road of experience. I drank heavily of the bitter waters of regret, and the purging fruit of remorse was gall in my mouth. Then, when I had purged and purified myself and once more become a proper receptacle for the light, illumination was granted me. I was in communication with the Holy Spirit, and since that day, grace has never gone from me. LUC 5:2. Having been filled with power and inspiration, I was sent out to teach the doctrine of the Supreme Vision. I proclaimed the Supreme Spirit to men and tried to direct their steps into the paths of beauty and truth. I was received with mockery and taunts, and many were the blows directed my way. I did not seek alms or beg, and wherever I went earned my bread by working as a cobbler. LUC 5:3. My friends, this is how I spoke to any who would listen. Awaken, you sleepers who have abandoned life for slumber, who have scorned the effort of living. You have given yourselves over to the wine shop of mortality and quaffed too deeply of the wines of sensuality and lust. Now, you lie in a drunken sleep, ignorant of your spiritual existence and nature. You have sipped long from the cup of ignorance and drunk deeply from the flagons of thoughtlessness. Awake, open your eyes to a sober awareness of the beauty and love about you. Wake up and look into the light of soul-spirit recognition. It hurts your eyes, but that is because they are accustomed to darkness. LUC 5:4. My friends, I led a life of frustration, for I was like a child who finds a loved parent too heavy to move, lying drunk in a burning house. I tried to awaken people from their stupor and to draw them out of the darkness of ignorance, but they were bewitched by spells of vain ritual and held captive by irrational but beguiling teachings. LUC 5:5. When I said, the law is that man must struggle and strive, or starve and perish, and this applies not only to the mortal body of man, but equally to his soul spirit, their answering voices came to me from the darkness of ignorance and from the depths of matter, into which they has sunk. I heard them from the thick mists of agnosia, and they all said, we have our saviors and those who plead for us, we make acceptable offerings, and pay due homage. Our priests stand between us and destruction, and we are content to leave our spiritual well-being in their hands. Leave us in peace, for your voice disturbs us, and with our hands full of mortal affairs we have no time to give for the contemplation of these things. LUC 5:6. My friends, my heart was sore within me, for I was a lone voice, crying against the tempest. I said, open your hearts just a little, and raise your spiritual gaze above the sordid drabness which surrounds your daily existence. Do not ignore the hopeful, helping hand I extend to you, for this ignorance which serves as the servant of evil floods the whole earth. Its currents sweep along all the aimless, drifting soul spirits shut up within unguided bodies, which are carried away to be sunk and lost in the depths. LUC 5:7. My voice appeared to call in vain, and my heart sank in despair, for with each failure and setback, my confidence drained away. Still I was not left abandoned, for the Comforter came to me in my darkest hours, and I was not left friendless. Refreshed by a surge of spiritual vitality, I continued my pleas. Men of Isolia, do not let yourselves be carried off by the strong currents of carnal desires. Do not ride the rafts of wickedness, which must go with the wind and waves without direction. Row back against the tide of apathy and indifference, bend your backs, and pull with vigor. Seek the harbor where your soul spirit can step ashore in its homeland. Why have you abandoned yourselves to drifting aimlessly on the sea of mortality, where, unless you awake from the stupor of apathy, you will be destroyed upon the dark lee shore? Awake, awake, pull for the harbor to windward. LUC 5:8. My body was seized and confined in a dungeon deep, and cruel keepers tormented me. I longed for the fresh air of the free highways, and, when at last I was freed, I hastened to another place. Again, I raised my voice to any who would stand and listen and said, "Why do you share your homes with error and make ignorance your guest? Why do you welcome the misguiders and turn away those who bear the gifts of truth? Come out of your comfortable cottages, where you sit quaffing the sleep-inducing draughts of agnosia. Get out into the fresh, bracing air of fully conscious life, be a whole being, wholly awake, instead of a half being half asleep. Come, lay your hand to the plough, and till the fields of immortality. Turn under the weeds of your past mistakes as green manure, and trim your share to turn them deep. Luc. 5:9. Come out from the stiflingly sleep-inducing air contaminated with fumes from the fire of complacency. Come out into the reviving cold, and fill your lungs with the bracing air of reality. Arise from the comfortable drowsiness of apathy, and step out into the stimulating winds of challenge and care. Luc. 5:10. Again few heeded my message, and most went away mocking, calling after me, "Where is your temple? Seek no offerings from us." Still, here and there, a few remained, and I gave them the knowledge of the true way, of how and by what means they could tread the road to divinity. In them I could sow the seeds, which, in order to grow, had to be harrowed in by worldly effort and watered by rain from the sphere above. For these few I was duly grateful, and in them comforted by the thought that I had not labored to dig a well in vain. Luc. 5:11. My friends, I did not wait to see the harvest grow where I had planted, for fresh fields always lay ahead. I spoke as I walked, and I taught as I labored at my task. I protected the feet of men stoutly with good workmanship, and the spiritual wares I vended freely were no less serviceable. Chapter 6. The Forest Mission. 1. Luc. 6:1. The tests each man must endure have an affinity with him and with no other, so no two persons are tested alike. I who have shod the feet of others, making walking more comfortable, was fated to suffer the trials of a cripple, and the day came when I no longer enjoyed freedom of movement. It was then I came to this place, and my stay here has been blessed in many ways. Luc. 6:2. My friends, I will tell you now about the Supreme Spirit and his properties, and although the Supreme Spirit is neither male nor female, by convention men say him, and I will do likewise. Just as the eye cannot see the Supreme Spirit, or the finite mind understand him, so can they neither see nor understand the perfect, the beautiful, and the good. These are properties having their source in the Supreme Spirit, and they are things with which he is in love and therefore responds to. They are the things having an affinity with the soul. Luc. 6:3. So if a man strives after perfection, beauty, and goodness, even though he lacks knowledge of the soul spirit, he will attain such knowledge. If he has no knowledge of the existence of the Supreme Spirit, this, too, will be given him. For if a man takes the road to York, even though he has never heard of York, he will certainly get there if he continues along the road. Luc. 6:4. Therefore, my friends, if your desire is the attainment of the ultimate in perfection, beauty, and goodness, the knowledge of the ultimate in truth and reality, then it would be pointless to deny the Supreme Spirit. It would be no more than foolish for one determined to follow the road to York, to its end to deny the existence of York. In any case, whether or not he believes it to be there does not influence its ultimate appearance. Luc. 6:5. Because this is so, perhaps too much has been said about the destination and not enough about the road. The man who travels the road to York is better served by information about the road, its turn-offs and landmarks, than about his destination. Ford the rivers and cross the hills before you concern yourself with the hostelry fare. Luc. 6:6. The best way to know and understand anything is to study its properties, and this applies no less to the Supreme Spirit. So, therefore, consider, what is beauty, what is goodness and what is perfection? Is it not true that they can be known here only by their contrasts and reflection? If this is so, then where are they existing? Can a non-existent thing have a reflection, and what contrasts with nothing? Luc. 6:7 The Supreme Spirit is the sun of the sphere of the Spirit, as the Holy Spirit is the light of that sphere. The worm raising itself up at daybreak sees the light, but departs before the sun rises, for it is too lowly to withstand the rays that have no affinity with slime. It has never seen the splendor which reigns above, though it knows of it through the light. The swallow soars and swoops in the sunlight and revels in the warmth with which it has an affinity, but it cannot rise above its established limits. It can see the splendor it cannot attain as a bird. Luc. 6:8 When the land is covered in mist, the worm remains above ground with safety, while the swallow defers its flight. So it is with the mists of agnosia, for when they cover the mortal sphere, the blind, creeping things move more freely, while the winged creatures are restricted. Luc. 6:9 Men who are dissatisfied with an unsubstantial reflection seek the reality which gives it existence, and these are they who gaze in the direction of the Supreme Spirit and Divinity. One who, seeing the reflection, says to himself, behind this, there must be something greater, which I must seek, is a religious man. One who says, the reflection is pleasant and satisfies me, for to seek for its cause is too tiresome, is a non-religious man. Luc. 6:10 Reflections are elusive, and those cast on the dark mists of agnosia the most deceptive. Many mistake the ugly for the beautiful, the imperfect for the perfect, and evil for good, and so are trapped by their desire for worthless and unprofitable things. To seek for perfection is to seek the Supreme Spirit. To seek for goodness is to seek divinity. To seek for beauty is to reach up for both. Luc. 6:11 Seekers after enjoyment and pleasure gain little benefit, but to seek true happiness is a worthy aim, for it points in the right direction. Unhappiness, despair, and remorse are the products of ignorance, folly, and apathy. Evil effects flow from evil causes. Enjoyment and pleasure are unprofitable trees whose fruit may be tasteless or bitter. Ignorance is the darkness of the soul spirit, the smothering fog in which it becomes lost. It beguiles the spirit of man into a kind of drugged dullness. Man is no longer spiritually alert, keen, and energetic. He becomes inert, caught in the mire of matter. Luc. 6:12 My friends, if any of you see imperfection in the Supreme Spirit, be sure that the apparent imperfection results only from your mortal limitations. It is like looking at the sun through coarse, soiled glass and thinking the spots and distortions you see belong to the sun itself. It is not the sun that is spotted or distorted, the defect is in the glass or even in the eye of the viewer, but the effect is as though the defect lies in the sun. However imperfect the reflected image may appear, the reality behind it, the Supreme Spirit, is perfect. Luc. 6:13 The Supreme Spirit has always remained unmoved in the center of the wheel of eternity, which rolls its outrim through the universes of the lower sphere. He alone is the central, unchangeable reality, the hub, around which all things revolve. Time begins in eternity and ends there, though it may itself appear eternal because expressed in revolving cycles, modified only by change. Luc. 6:10 Reflections are elusive, and those cast on the dark mists of agnosia the most deceptive. Many mistake the ugly for the beautiful, the imperfect for the perfect, and evil for good, and so are trapped by their desire for worthless and unprofitable things. To seek for perfection is to seek the Supreme Spirit. To seek for goodness is to seek divinity. To seek for beauty is to reach up for both. Luc. 6:11 Seekers after enjoyment and pleasure gain little benefit, but to seek true happiness is a worthy aim, for it points in the right direction. Unhappiness, despair, and remorse are the products of ignorance, folly, and apathy. Evil effects flow from evil causes. Enjoyment and pleasure are unprofitable trees whose fruit may be tasteless or bitter. Ignorance is the darkness of the soul spirit, the smothering fog in which it becomes lost. It beguiles the spirit of man into a kind of drugged dullness. Man is no longer spiritually alert, keen, and energetic. He becomes inert, caught in the mire of matter. Luc. 6:12. My friends, if any of you see imperfection in the Supreme Spirit, be sure that the apparent imperfection results only from your mortal limitations. It is like looking at the sun through coarse, soiled glass and thinking the spots and distortions you see belong to the sun itself. It is not the sun that is spotted or distorted, the defect is in the glass or even in the eye of the viewer, but the effect is as though the defect lies in the sun. However imperfect the reflected image may appear, the reality behind it, the Supreme Spirit, is perfect. Luc. 6:13. The Supreme Spirit has always remained unmoved in the center of the wheel of eternity, which rolls its outrim through the universes of the lower sphere. He alone is the central, unchangeable reality, the hub, around which all things revolve. Time begins in eternity and ends there, though it may itself appear eternal because expressed in revolving cycles, modified only by change. Luc. 6:14. For me to speak of a beginning is a concession to mortal limitations and, in any case, it is pointless. The resolute wayfarer does not look back along the road. Suffice to say that there was the one soul, consciousness containing the essence of perfection and reality, which words cannot describe. When the potential power was stirred by thought, it flowed out in rhythm, and this was the beginning. Do not concern yourselves with these things or talk to others too much about the nature of the Supreme Spirit. To seek Him without first becoming aware of the soul spirit is like looking for darkness while carrying a lighted lamp. Luc. 6:15. The Supreme Spirit is the source of all spirit. And this is the power which flowed out and brought all else into being. The power flowed outward in the same order in which it returns. Luc. 6:16. My friends, these are things difficult to understand, and it is pointless going into waters beyond your depth. Man has more pressing problems to solve within himself, so before delving into the nature of the Supreme Spirit, he should first seek to unravel the secrets of his own nature. Still more important, he should deal with the flaws and defects in his own makeup before seeking to probe further. When a man has to travel a long road, his first care should be the soles of his feet.